Congratulations on A Suitable Boy. It was finally available for viewers to watch as part of the Toronto International Film Festival, albeit in a digital way. I remember reading A Suitable Boy. It was a bit of a tough read just because of the length of it. There were a lot of characters, and I think that it took you. You started in what? You said 2000, and you ended the book finally in 2015. Is that right?
So I started it in 2001.
2001.
When I finally got the courage to pick this book up.
It's massive.
And it's massive. It's massive, and it's very hard on your wrists actually. But I picked it up and I started reading it, and I remember telling this to Vikram as well, that every time I would pick it up, I would finish it till that same point, till the 500th page, and then just leave it. And that kept happening till 2015. For 15 years, I was just being able to finish only till the 500th page. And there are so many characters, there's so much that happens. But in 2015, I actually finished it because I gave 3 months of my life to that book, and I said, I have to read it. And I totally fell in love with the characters. I fell in love with the story. And in fact, there was, after I finished the book, there was that gap. There was that emptiness that I felt as a reader. And I did not go back to any book for almost 3 or 4 months. I was missing these characters so much.
And that's the strength of a good book, right? When you're excited and you keep flipping through, and then it comes to an end, and there's almost, as you mentioned, there's an emptiness inside because you're starting to miss the characters. One of the things that I think, as an avid book reader myself, one of the things that I've always been extremely wary of is novel adaptation to the big screen. And I say that because of two things. One, I find the way a character develops in a book is in much more detail because you have words to be able to describe everything that's happening. If you want to describe a sunny, beautiful day, it won't just be a sunny, beautiful day. It will talk about it was Tuesday morning, bright and early. It's 7 a.m. There's a sun out. It's rising. You know, there's a full paragraph describing what the author wants you to imagine. That component of imagination is taken over by the visuals that are created on screen for you. And sometimes the visuals don't match the description that you've had in your imagination if you've read the book. When you were dubbing in Hindi, did you feel like this is the way I had pictured A Suitable Boy coming on screen? And by the way, as an aside, I'm thankful that it was a series and not a movie because I don't think a movie would have worked for A Suitable Boy. So your thoughts when you sort of did that transition from a very well-known book to dubbing for the series?
I think this is where I think the person who is directing the adaptation comes into the picture and becomes so important. Because with a text like Suitable Boy, which is 1500 pages long and which has so many characters, but there is an essence to it. There is an essence to this story, which is essentially this story and which can't be anything else, right? And I think Meera is the only person who could have directed this in the world, let me tell you. Because she is an insider, and yet she is our voice to the global fraternity. And she understands the world completely, in a complete sense. She can see it from the Eastern perspective, and she can see it from the Western perspective as well. So, although Andrew Davis did a fantastic job of making this adaptation and compiling it into just 6 episodes, into a screenplay, I think it's Meera's vision also, which is closely matched to what to the world that Vikram Seth created in the book. So although you might not get the satisfaction of that sunrise that you were talking about, the description of that sunrise, but you'll definitely find the essence of that sunrise through the episode, or through what it, through the influence that it might have had on the characters. And that is what I think I felt really happy about, because the world is so beautiful, and these characters are really lovable, very real. And what tends to happen with a text like this, and with something that with history especially, actors and performers tend to get into like certain postures which seem very plastic, and that time doesn't seem real. But the truth is, the way Vikram has written the book, India is 5 years old, and all these people are real, and they are going through that situation at that point. And that's the reason why the book also works, because you can place it anywhere. You really can place it anywhere. And that's the essence which I think Meera has been able to capture through each actor, through each situation, through each. She's been able to, and that's her beauty. That is her skill. So when I saw it, and when I saw my bits in some other parts as well, I think it's really beautiful. Man's story comes out so beautifully. There have been many characters which have been obviously murdered as well, but I think this is a different world, and one should compare it to the book only to a point, because it is an adaptation, and the essence of it lives in these 6 episodes. But I think she's taken it off the pages. She's taken it from these descriptions and made something really visually stunning, visually beautiful. And yet, what it achieves is that it's very real. So when you see it, you feel it's happening to you.
I agree with you in large part because I think that the themes explored through Lata, through Savita, through your character Harish, they're still very relevant. They're still each character and their struggle. You can relate to it somewhat as a viewer. So I think, yes, definitely you could sort of take all of these people and place them in a different time. Obviously, the political backdrop is a little bit different, obviously. But in terms of the human emotion aspect of the story, I think relatable 100%, no matter which era, so to speak, it's placed in. But I think also a large part of it, you talked about it being so visually appealing. I think a large part of the fact that it does capture for me, and this doesn't always happen to me, a large part of why it captures The Suitable Boy so well as an adaptation is the production design and the visual appeal. Again, as you said, Stephanie Carroll creates magic, I think, personally. When you stepped on set, I think one of your castmates, I think it was Ishan, who said, I would just wander about my own house because I was just so fascinated by what I was in, and it was a world that had been created. When did you first feel like you had officially stepped into that era, so to speak?
The moment I actually put my pants on.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and when we had like a screen test, which was also looking at the colors or the color schemes and how it would look. And this was much before the shoot, I think 1.5 months before we were supposed to go on floors. I remember wearing my pants, and I realized that I'm not used to them. And I will be, I'll seem very, very plastic if I don't get used to it. So I immediately went to Meera and I told her about this, that, we shouldn't look like people who don't talk like this.
Right.
Or who don't wear these clothes. Because we don't wear these clothes. This is not our reality. 2020 is very different, and in fact, the politics of India is also very different now. So they made it a point, Arjun Bhasin, the costume designer, and the magician himself, obviously. There was a pant which was sent to me, and I was shooting in North Bengal at that point of time for another project, and I used to sleep in my pants. I made it a point to sleep in my pants, yeah, to wear those pants and just get used to it. Harish is essentially a cobbler,
Right.
and he's in the shoemaking industry. I spent time with shoemakers. I went to Mira made sure that I go to like a factory and get to know what it takes to make a shoe. Obviously, this is 1952, so things are very different. So there was a cobbler who used to come to my house initially and teach me how to make a shoe, because I should know the basics of it at least. And then I started visiting the cobbler and started sitting with him on the footpath and just getting a feel of things. So these are things which you create around yourself and make it believable. And these are the things which make the character alive inside you, because only when it's alive inside you can you live it outside. Only when you're feeling it inside can you show what you are feeling inside. And to in order for you to feel all of these things, you need to go through this process, I think, uh, and create these things inside you, because essentially it's at the end of the day communication. So when you ask me when did you feel that you were part of it, I don't think there was any definite point where I started feeling like Harish. I think it was gradual. While I was learning how to make a shoe, while I was every day wearing those pants and getting comfortable and trying to pull it up and not the normal way that we wear right now. I think somewhere along, I think I became Harish. And somewhere I identify with him so much. I think I am him somewhere as a human being and as a person. I think my politics as a human being really matches that of Harish. So I was also lucky there, because sometimes you don't identify with the character at all and you're just finding it. You're just trying to find how that person would exist. And maybe you by the end of the project you just sort of just skim through and you never understand who this person was. But with Harish, I think the process was gradual, but it was very beautiful, because I think Harish is beautiful.
And I know that you said to your wife after you'd finished reading the book, you had said that if there was a character I wanted to play from Suitable Boy, it would be Harish.
Yeah.
Right. What is it
Yes.
about Harish? You talk about him. You talk about him being a beautiful character, and I think that we often, I've heard you say, he's organized. There's a certain way he does things, and he has a routine, and that really engaged you as a person because that is something that you identify with, those character traits. But there is a difference in sort of habits, and there's a difference in, anyone can sort of inculcate habits. And I think a lot of that is habits that you see. But there's something very endearing about him. There's something that I found. By the time I got to Harish, I wasn't able to watch the rest of the episodes, which is unfortunate. But there's something very endearing about him. There's something almost unsaid, I would say, when he comes on screen. There's a lot of things that you're not overly robust with your feelings. How did you identify with that aspect, and what told you about his soul, so to speak?